Well, Graham, lots of things need to go our way this weekend, but really we can only focus on the one that matters, which is getting the win at Reading.
Yeah, well, that'll be the message to the players that I think we'll be very disappointed if we don't get the result we're looking for, and then we come off the pitch and the results have gone for us. So, like I said, we've got to get our result right, and then fingers crossed. But things could go for us, and we've got to make sure that we do our job, really.
Because you've said all along, from the first day that you sat on that chair, that you wanted to take it to the last day, and obviously we need that win in order for that to happen at least.
Yeah, only because of the experiences I've had here that it's never been in our hands, and even if we do take it to the last day, it probably wouldn't be in our hands. But at least to have a chance would be would be some sort of achievement, and I think we'd be better prepared for it than anybody.
How have you kept the boys focused on the game rather than the situation?
Probably the opposite, really. We've sort of had a clips running in the canteen yesterday of great escapes, which obviously we've done, but other teams have done. And you look at back at some of them, and we were going into the last day, I think, at Stoke, and there was all sorts of permutations years ago, and obviously we did it. And whilst I don't like almost success out of failure, you would take it now at this moment in time, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, yeah. Now the fans are going to say it's do or die. Let's go for it. Let's go gung ho. But it's a bit more complicated than that, isn't it? I suppose you need to win the game, however that takes.
Well, especially against Reading, to be fair, they're probably technically the best football team in the league. So we've got to respect that. But we've got probably just about every ammunition we've got is with us travelling, so we've got a few decisions to make, and I think in recent games we've had a plan that's nearly worked out, really, in most of the games. So we'll probably follow a similar plan, but we've probably got more armoury this time.
Are you hinting there that Omar might have a chance? I know you said he was close last weekend, but
yeah, it just depends. He's trained hard yesterday. If there's any reaction to it and how he feels. I spoke to him last week before the game, and I could tell in his face and things he was saying it wasn't positive. So I always have a chat with the players and see what their reaction is. If it's positive, then on they go.
And I guess you've got the Nick Powell factor as well. Do you start him? Do you keep him on the bench? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still a similar situation with Nick, but I think we're much further forward, and it could be a start, really. But for both of them to start, that would maybe be a risk, but maybe it's a risk we may have to take.
And you mentioned Stoke just before. It's ironic that in goal for Reading you were going to have the lad who was in goal for us that day. He's a great friend of ours as a club, isn't he? But tomorrow he's going to be an enemy.
Yeah, he's done well since he left here. I noticed he was Player of the Year from last year and that. So, but he's one of the best people I've ever met in football. Ali, he's such a great character and a nice lad. And he'll be saddened by the fact of where we are in the league, so don't expect any favours for him, but I just hope he doesn't have one of his better days, really.
And just to conclude then, it's not over till it's over, is it? We're going to go for it, aren't we, tomorrow?
I think after last Saturday when, obviously 0-0 was disappointing, but the performance was good. There was that real tinge of disappointment, but then to come through it and still have a chance, I think you've got to take it.